This podcast is brought to you by Guiding Growing Minds, a social enterprise that aims to give all children the best opportunity to reach their potential and succeed in living rich and meaningful lives.
Episode 91 in the can, Dr. Billy Garvey, The Matrix and Big Feelings. What are people going to learn this week?
Well, yeah, that a lot of this is about us. We had a lot of examples of practical strategies we could talk about, some of them that happened today, but really talking about a really important component of how we support the emotional development of our kids, and some practical steps, hopefully, of what the theory and evidence shows.
Billy, in memory, this is one of the most practical ones for both our kids, but for adults to actually listen to as well and take a bit out of. That was my takeaway. I was like, God, I'm really going to learn this first for myself, try and apply it, recognise all this stuff, and then work through with the kids as well because they need the support. But it's really good, and who doesn't love The Matrix, let's be honest. It's one of our great exports. Thanks very much, Dr. Billy Garvey. Enjoy the episode, guys, and make sure you send your questions through to popcultureparenting@gmail.com. Try and avoid the Instagram inbox. It's a bit flooded at the moment, but the Gmail's the best one for your long questions.
And tips and reflections.
Of course, those as well. We love those. Awesome, guys. Enjoy.
Hi, I'm Billy, a developmental paediatrician. And I'm Nick, a developing parent. We're going to use scenes from iconic movies to talk about how we best support our kids. This is Pop Culture Parenting.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. I don't want to see anybody else either.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Just use your best judgment. We trust you.
Good morning, Dr. Billy Garvey. How are you?
Good, mate, good. Already brightened my morning. You know what I mean? Here 15 minutes.
Oh, God. It's a bit of a
amazing.
chuckle to start. It's a bit of fun. How are you?
Honestly, much better now, like I always am. Any act, to be 100% honest, anytime I get to see you and spend time with you. But yeah, rough start to this morning.
Not a good start, huh?
No. Annalise is on night shift, which ironically is much easier for us because she actually finishes when she's meant to, still does 12-hour shifts, but comes home after everything's been sort of kicked off for the day. But she gets to spend time with the kids in the evening when she wakes up, which is amazing. So it's been great. The problem is the mornings are all on me.
I don't like that seat.
And I'm not a morning person or an evening person.
Oh, give me the morning, actually.
Yeah, your morning.
Morning.
Yeah.
Morning. Because, if you're on the good thing about the morning is you've also got an end date. It's like school, it's 9 o'clock.
Yes.
So you're just working towards a goal. Where bedtime's a pretty open-ended little time frame. It's like, what is bedtime? It's not like you go, well, 7:30 is bedtime and the job is done. It's 7:30 is the goal, and quarter past 8 is, probably the median, and then, there's a lot of breadth at the other end as well.
Totally, and I'm living proof of that. I was working on this bad boy to 1 a.m. I think at 2 a.m. Charlie started crying, and we're trying to get him back in the room with Evie, 2-bedroom place, and the moment he starts crying, you've got to pull him out. So we're working on some of the stuff we'll talk about today with him.
Oh, good.
And then, so he's in with me. Got to get the kids up at 6 a.m. And we don't have the amazing person that looks after them on the day that we record, Thursdays. So to the drop-off, but just I'll use it actually for demonstrating some of the things we're going to talk about today. But
fantastic.
Lots of big feelings from Evie, big feelings from me, really stressed. One of the boys is supposedly hitting her and snatching and doing all this stuff and, melting down, not wanting to go. Use some strategies, which we'll talk about, get them there, but then awful drop-off. Charlie's losing his mind the moment he realises I'm walking away. And then drop Evie off and she's just begging me not to go. And you're like, I don't know what you're like in that situation, but I'm like, I'm quitting.
It's the worst.
It is the worst.
You get back and then you do that at 10 to 9 and then you got a meeting at 9 o'clock and you get on the meeting and everyone's like, how's everything? You're like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
You're just like, I'm still recovering and I'm traumatized and but yeah, I'll just crack on with my day and try and ignore that absolute spike of adrenaline and
yeah, well, we're going to talk about some stuff that we can do that's more helpful for that because I wanted to do a really practical one because the moral development stuff was amazing. So thanks for everyone that enjoyed that one. But But yeah, we'll do our Grizzlies and Windowers very quickly. A couple of announcements.
Good.
The YouTube has become even better now. The amazing guys at Ivy Street have started cutting the questions.
I saw that.
Yeah,
They're cutting the questions.
Yeah. So obviously not as valuable as all the jokes we tell and things like that.
Do I make the edit?
You read them beautifully.
It's the Billy Garvey
you give a lot of
solo show.
amazing. You give a lot of amazing answers as well. And so yeah, if you're looking like I don't have time to listen to the whole thing, or I want to go back to some questions, they sit on YouTube now where you can look and the 3-minute answer or 7-minute answers there, which is phenomenal because the Ivy Street guys came up with that idea and the AV1 guys have been cutting it, but AV1 have now grown stronger, and the amazing Kai and Abby now, who are amazing video content creators, have now got a company called All Things, All Creatures, or All Creatures, All Things. But check out both of them. And
Kai and Abby, yep.
yeah, but it's really cool because they were a big part of us elevating to like now we're, got a bigger presence. We're on TikTok.
Bigger presence.
Yeah.
Bigger presence.
Yeah. Well,
101,000 followers this week.
Yeah, so it's cool because every time we get a kick, we see new people coming in. One of the things which are relevant today that I struggle with, which we won't focus on too much, I'll try not to focus on me the whole episode, is when new people come in, say on TikTok, there's often people that aren't kind of used to the style and how supportive and gentle the whole community is of each other. And I struggle a bit emotionally with that when someone says, I'm a forensic police officer, and you know the story about like the mum who's telling the bear the secret at bedtime? Remember that? Like about how great the kids are and what they did today?
Oh, yes.
I'm a forensic police officer. Telling secrets to kids is a really bad thing and you shouldn't do that. And I was like, cool, delete. I just have no time for it.
I spent an hour going through, or not, maybe not an hour, going through all the comments for the last sort of couple of months across all of the socials last night.
Yeah, there's amazing stuff, isn't there?
Amazing stuff in there.
But anyone who comes in hostile, especially towards something someone else has said, it's just, because I don't have time. Like I literally read everything people send and it's amazing to see all the phenomenal stuff. There's some stuff that's not appropriate to say on here, but some people that are going through hard stuff that hopefully you and I will never experience, and saying the podcast is helpful, and that is particularly meaningful. I'll tell you about it off air, but particularly meaningful when people who are in awful, awful experiences are finding that this is a helpful guide. So thank you for taking the time to share that with us. So yeah, go out to those platforms now. Grizzy, Winslow, what do you want to start with?
Flat out Griswold. I'll start. So last episode
so Grizzy?
Yeah, Griswold, sorry.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I haven't given you this full update. You've got a partial update, right?
Okay.
Because it happened yesterday. So last time I was in here, my Griswold was given to my partner Henrietta, who had been in for a second attempt to get vaccinations, flu vaccinations with one of my daughters. One of my daughters goes and gets jabbed. No worries. And then one of them struggles to get it done. I'm like, okay, cool. Mum has 2 cracks at doing it. I'm like, I've got this.
Yeah, that old move. That's in the book.
I've got the chapter on Dad's telling you how to do it. So Dad, this guy, goes, yeah, it's fine. I'll do it. So thinking about the plan around it, because, she had two failed attempts. Mum trying to do it.
Just distressed and
really distressed. She's highly distressed.
Stepping.
Doesn't like it. Yeah, doesn't like getting an injection. I mean, who does when they're at that age? And we're trying to do softly. We're trying to be, proper and good and all those sorts of things and gentle. So Dad steps in to solve the problem. And I thought I'd start by introducing pressure into the situation, Billy.
The missing ingredient in all our parenting.
Is that in the book, that one?
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
It's the 11th
I've read it
chapter.
1.5 times. I didn't make it? Right.
Didn't make the cut.
Because it turns out introducing pressure into a situation doesn't help either. My pressure was, if you don't get this, we're not going to. We're going away for the weekend. And we would all pack the car. I went down with a fully loaded car ready to go. And I said, you've just got to get it before we go. Because I spoke to it's kind of funny, but it's not. I spoke to the local tourism board and they said, you can't come without the injection.
Wow, they're really supporting vaccinations.
Oh, my God. Anyway, so go in.
Terrible. So you're feeling desperate.
Desperate. I mean, I was kind of like we really tried everything. We tried gentle explaining. We'd done modelling. We'd been injecting the fluffy toys. We'd been talking about the importance of those around us who get sick. We talked about everything and setting it up and talking about it, getting there, spending 45 minutes for the first 2 occasions and not getting anywhere and then just leaving too stressful. I go in and I went in there and I gave it half an hour, 40 minutes of trying to get her across the line. I didn't want to grab her and hold her down and do that sort of thing. And so, yeah, like all this stuff aside, we tried everything. It's like, well, we're kind of at the point where you've got to get it done. Anyway, didn't work out, left. We ended up going away. I sort of said, I don't know what I said. Felt bad, but I felt horrible and it was a terrible situation. Anyway, went yesterday to get it done and got it done. But got it done. In the end, I ended up holding her to get it done. And it was actually as I picked her up, she didn't want to be held to get it done. We got it done and the injection went in and out and we told her it's done and she just went into like rapturous laughter and everything after. But she was highly upset as I grabbed her. She's like, no.
Yeah.
I said, we've got to get it done. This is 4 times. Like, this is the 4th time we've been in to do this and got it done. But she's like, what? And the relief on her face after it was done, through tears, to be honest. It was horrible.
Yeah,
but she was then so proud of herself and we were like...
Amazing.
And every year we've been doing every year and we've had all the IMS and everyone else and, all that sort of stuff. But she was like, oh, that was great. I've got it done. And she Band-Aid, look, a bit of blood and proud as hell. It's terrible. It was terrible. Terrible. But
Potentially worse if you were going fifth
time. Exactly.
7th.
So I got to that point where I was like, made the call to go,
Amazing, mate.
this is it. Anyway, it was horrible. 4 attempts. And but she was so brave and great after it. Like, it seems this thing you build up in your head is going to be the worst thing on earth. And it's the jabs these days. I don't know. We always did the whole, it's a soft needle. It's a soft needle this time. In it, boop, boop, and an incredible nurse who we love. So did it local GP. Anyway.
Yeah, it's amazing, mate. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's actually really relevant to what we're going to talk about. And we'll talk about like how we can get stuck in some of the 2-3 time stuff. And you did really well to break that cycle because it's really tough because there's a lot of pressure on you. So we'll go deeply into that.
Cool.
You got to, or do you want, I'll give my Grizzy.
Yeah, I've got no wins.
My Grizzy's really relevant. So on the weekends at the moment, Annalise is sleeping because she's on night shift. And I'd kind of been really, once again, overconfident. I was like, sweet, a whole day, just me and the kids. And so I'd been, having a nice morning with them. I'd gone for a run while Annalise is winding down with Melfi and all that stuff. Feeling really good. And I kind of did some chores and it was going well, but there was a little bit of like resistance from Evie. She was like testing me a bit because she kind of probably sensed I've got a whole day of this guy. let's
find his
make
boundaries.
Let's make sure the power balance is right. So, and just that resistance of like taking a bit of time to get in the car seat and like, bouncing around the car and like you kind of, and I'm pretty good in that zone. And I was really good because I accidentally did well because I took Charlie onto the other side of the car because I was sitting in traffic, like standing in traffic, trying to convince her. So I was like, all right, cool. I closed the door and went around the other sad and she thought I was going to put Charlie into her seat. So she's like, okay. And I was like, great, thanks, Evie. That's awesome.
Nice, well done.
But it was accidental. Anyway, cut to like that afternoon, I'm like, we're going swimming.
Ooh, 2 kids swimming.
Yeah. It was a great once I got there.
That one or that one?
The good
Little one? The good one.
The good one.
Okay, yep.
The good one.
We're pointing to pools, by the way. A couple of pools now. Crack on.
The good one. And so Annalise is asleep and I've got all the stuff ready. I'm like, this is smooth. She's doing the same thing. She's like not coming to me and being a bit silly and playful, but not like I step her leg into the outfit and she steps it out. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm just like, all right,
this is beautiful.
Pretty big week. So I'm just like, lots has happened. And I got to the point where I was like, that's all right, Evie. I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to change Charlie. And I took him to change his nappy and she's like, no, change me now. I was like, it's okay. I'm going to change you. I'm just going to change Charlie now because he's ready now and you weren't ready. Like, this is how I'm saying it. And I wasn't angry at her or anything. I was just like, got to pull myself away, which is another strategy we'll talk about.
Yeah.
As I'm changing Charlie, I've got him on there. like nappy off, like he's capable of just diving off there now, and he's at that stage, which will also come up in terms of development, what we're going to talk about. Hysterical. Evie goes to like 1,000. Like I'm talking
Really?
like,
Why?
I've never seen her this distressed. Because she just was trying to like, she was trying every technique she had to get me to come back and change her and not do Charlie first. But I was a bit stuck because I was like, I have to finish changing him now. And also the problem was I couldn't give her the support she needed for this like 2-minute window. And I also, do you know the mistake I made? Like you won't be surprised to hear. Guess the mistake I made. Shouting, hysterical, like
Calm
screaming.
down. Oh, you're okay.
I'm never
No.
silly enough to say calm down or it's okay. I was like, Mummy's trying to sleep.
Oh, yeah. Fuck, how do you not? How do you not?
Yeah.
I mean,
So
the
then we
reasoning with a 3-year-old, she's a
Yeah,
DEFCON
totally.
5.
But I was so stressed that I was like,
How do you not?
half-naked baby on the change table, 3-year-old really struggling, who I want to help and I want to go towards, like, which is really important. We should always go towards them. I want to go towards. I've got to be gentle because if I go towards her too much, she runs. So well, after I did while I'm changing, Mummy's trying to sleep and she just went even higher. I then tried to go towards her and she ran to the bedroom door and just started banging on it. And like, I'm talking like banshee, I'm like the neighbours are hearing this. And of course, Annalise comes out. She's amazing. She's like had 3 hours sleep, comes out and like just cuddles her and calms her and sits with her and everything. And then everything's fine and we go off to the pool. And Evie's so amazing that driving back from the pool, like I had this amazing time at the pool and it was really cool. And besides like bloody boys always pushing in front of her on top of that water slide thing. It was funny, I was there up the top with a granddad and it's obviously like his first day looking after his granddaughter. And because you don't need to go up there with them, like they can do it all themselves, but all the little boys just cut past the girls. And he's like, oh, mate, what is this about? Every second boy just pushes past them because he's got a little girl there as well. And he's like, I got to stand up here because she just never gets a turn. And I was like, yeah, tell me about it. That's why I'm up here as well. No other parent in sight. Like you're just standing there on your own kind of going, hey, mate, she was here before you. And then they step back and they know they're fine. They respond well to that guidance.
Yeah, I do that. Yeah,
and you talked about this beautifully the other day, not to segue completely, how you're like, you just got to be in there.
You got to be in it.
Yeah, you got to be in there. And you're like, I'd love to be standing on the side having a beer.
Oh, I'd love to be drinking wine.
Yeah, but you got to be in there to help her sometimes.
You got to be in there.
Anyway, so Evie on the drive back, I was like, I'm really sorry that I couldn't help you. And she's like, I'm sorry, Daddy. And just like talked about it. I was like, you don't have to be sorry.
So
like,
she
you're allowed to. Yeah, well, yeah. So I was like, thank you. Yes. No, of course not. I was like, you don't have to be sorry. Like you were upset and you're allowed to be upset. And that's what we're going to talk about. So that was mine. I've obviously got this morning as well and probably 3 in between.
There's a couple more I could point out. We did spend an hour or 2 together last Saturday. This isn't that important. Don't worry.
That's true. That was beautiful though. That was really nice. It was one of my my sanctuaries of the week actually.
We had open house on Saturday morning. We had 3 families coming and going over about a 4-hour period, just cycling through.
Yeah,
4 or 5 hours.
which isn't probably no surprise to any listener here that Nick's house has an open door that gets used well.
We were. It was busy.
But yeah, beautiful. Okay, now Winslow.
No, don't have one. You go.
Okay.
I don't object to fun. I love fun. In fact, I'm the grand funk master of fun.
We should have canned laughter after we tell jokes.
We'd need it.
So mine is, and I'm saying this purposely, I'm really starting to connect with Charlie now. And people might be like, well, you should be because he's 1.
12 and a half months.
Yeah. But I'm really in the zone now. Someone I was on a podcast yesterday. I won't say which one because so I don't want to ruin it. But I was like, I just adore Evie more than anything else in the world. And they're like, more than your son? And I was like, well, yeah, actually, like, and I don't know what it was like for you, but I've talked about this with Evie and I should talk about it with Charlie. I didn't instantly connect to Charlie. You know, he's a beautiful baby and he's got a silly haircut and like all that stuff and I enjoy him. He's got a gorgeous temperament. Like he's he is like the most chilled out baby I've ever met in my life. He just sleeps anywhere and is happy anywhere, except for in his own room through the night. So him and Evie through the night. But he's beautiful. But I'm starting to really connect with him, and there's a reason for that. It's because his temperament is starting to show, and we know that kind of towards the end of the first year of life that happens. And so I get to see his character and his personality. He's mobilising a lot more and all that stuff. So it's been actually really beautiful because it's and I have to balance it because I've got to make sure that I don't, impact sibling, relationships and all that stuff and share it with them. And we talked about that ages ago on Legend of the Fall. But it's it's really beautiful. So that's my it was really interesting because when I was thinking about Winslow, I was like, the book or something like that. But I'm like, no, this is actually the thing that matters. But yeah,
it's interesting you say that you had to balance it. I probably didn't balance it until just recently. So I was the youngest of 5 kids. So like the youngest daughter Veronica just gets like a lot of my attention, probably way more than my oldest daughter Winifred. And I've actually started rebalancing it, and I've seen a huge improvement with just general behaviour and emotions with my oldest because I was incredibly bonded with my little one.
Yeah,
Early
you
on.
are.
So,
do you know why that is?
Well, I did Mum was sick at the time when she was
true. That's a
born,
big part
so
of
that
it.
was a big part of it. It was lockdown, and so I had her. I did all the feeding, not all, but most of the feeding. Where the first one did all the exclusive breastfeeding with Mum, I did exclusive bottle feeding with the next one. So I think that's part of it, but also I see the youngest child in her, which I was, and so I probably relate to it. And I was pretty spoiled as a youngest, sort of, like the baby.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why.
totally. I was just remembering back, I was like, pretty sure I had her for 20 minutes in those first few days that I looked after her. And, it's quality over quantity, what I did in those 20
You
minutes.
always say that.
When she's in Mensa, it'll be that 20 minutes that I looked after her while you guys ran off and
we
did
also look identical, so I look at her and see me.
I thought you meant me. I was like, she was like, it's still Dad.
It's still Dad. Yeah.
But yeah, totally. But it's what you're talking about. And I have a much easier time connecting with a vet than Annalise does because Annalise is so calm. She's like Charlie. Whereas I've got this like just tiny version of me being hysterical over like not getting changed first. Yeah. And I'm like, I can relate to that. So I have to make more effort. Yeah. So you have to be purposeful with it because a lot of families I meet in clinic, the kid who's struggling, it's often because, Dad and her sister are really close.
It's made a huge difference. Like I've seen improvement that I was like, I hadn't realised how much I could impact that kid's temperament.
Yeah, well, I mean, mate, you are so amazing that I think yesterday you sent me like your cheat sheet moving forward.
I did, yeah. I've read the book. We'll give it another plug. I've read the book, and I've also listened to it as well. I've listened and read it and love it.
Yeah, thank you. But as you are so good, like the book or regardless, you've got like a plan that you've written down.
Yeah, I took the notes. Yeah, I made it really practical for me. So I sent them to you as examples because I think that like I just need some rehearsed sentences to go through my mind when it starts to go south.
Yeah, we'll talk about that today, that different stuff. But
brilliant.
You should publish that plan. It's probably more valuable than the book.
I've been sending it to my mates. I've been like, hey, book's available. By the way, I've done a quick cheat sheet. And it's like bloody 10 lines for 2 chapters on self-esteem and emotions. And I'm like, because I wouldn't say that in the moment. It's the basics. It's so basic.
Yeah.
But really handy.
Yeah, we're going to get some of that. But it's funny because that's what one of your many superpowers is like, how do you translate all this stuff into practical strategies? And that's why I think the podcast is the best thing I do. Yeah. Now, obviously, professionally, this hopefully being a partner and a dad. They're good. Yeah, they're good. Come on, let's be honest. But cool. Okay, now we haven't. We'll obviously announce it in the intro, which will come before all of this. But movie and topic.
The Matrix. Big feelings.
Yes,
love it.
Yeah. So,
what did you think?
Rewatch. Yeah, to be honest, it took me right back. I don't know if you have. There's a couple of movies that are like this for me, but it took me right back to the cinemas.
Don't know if I saw it in the cinemas, to be honest.
Really?
Don't think I did.
99. I'm trying to think what else was a big movie
12.
that year. Just
I don't know.
Continually watching the Titanic. I wish I had better.
No, I can't remember what year's films come out.
Yeah,
except I remember that was 99 because I was in year 12.
Yeah.
And I remember the phone.
I was in
a
middle
mate had
school.
the phone. But it didn't actually flick out, by the way.
Yeah.
It was manually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Okay. And yeah, so how did the movie make you feel? Like, what did you, especially on the rewatch?
Well, especially on the rewatch, if you haven't watched it, it's all about AI, and that's what struck me first. I was like, oh yeah, this is more important today than 25 years ago. 25 years ago, I was like, AI, oh yeah, we know what that is. Like,
Y2K.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be robots and stuff. Well, it's not that. It's now, web browsers and everywhere in your workplace and in your mailbox and in your email box, that sort of thing. Like it's much more prevalent, and you're like, yeah. I thought that was really interesting. I hadn't watched it in years, but since probably the last time I watched it, I lived in Sydney, where it's all filmed. So I loved that.
Yeah,
loved it.
Yeah.
So
the visuals, the scene we've picked is in Sydney. That's a clue. But
Well,
you might know now.
I'd spent 4 years living in Sydney. That's interesting. I think I know where you are now. 4 years living in Sydney, and it's bloody Sydney. It's which makes it even cooler. So that was nice. Keanu just doesn't age, which is cool. It's amazing.
And what do you tell me about? Like, why do you think? Tell me more about the AI and the relevance today.
Well, it's just
why. Outside of like the technical aspect of it, why do we worry about AI?
We're worried they're going to take over and put us in towers of pods and
possibly. What might happen and is happening in our lifetime because of
our kids are going to be using AI.
What are they doing now that we're worried
about?
Know. And we're doing it lots.
Don't know.
Like on computers.
Yeah.
And we're on phones.
Yeah.
And we're not really interacting with the real world as much.
Yes.
Yeah. So The Matrix is based on a concept that Plato used to talk about. This is obviously a long time ago.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's called Plato's Cave. And Plato's cave analogy is that a prisoner is chained facing the back wall of the cave, and there's a fire behind him, and his total interpretation of the world is the shadows that are cast on the wall. He has a really superficial, shallow interpretation of the world. Now, what Plato's argument is that we need to unchain ourselves and leave the cave. Now, that's what happens in the Matrix, is that he's in this false world, this superficial, shallow world where he's not really experiencing the real world. And then because he takes the pill, he leaves it, and he has a choice, and he leaves the cave and goes into the real world. Now, in the superficial world, like lots of us, during the day, because we hear he lives 2 lives, Smith says that to him, he lives the day, office cubicle.
Mr. Anderson.
No relationships. We don't see any part of him, do we? It's just he's wearing a suit, he's in an awful, cubicle space.
Yep.
And then at night he's Neo, he's searching for something. And a lot of us are searching for something, aren't we? And what are we searching for? What are you actually searching for in your life?
Enlightenment.
Yeah, but you probably don't think about it as enlightenment, but you're probably trying to become the best person you are, have the most deep and meaningful connections you have.
Yeah.
Also control your emotions, because that's how a lot of that is achieved.
Yep.
We're going to step through that. But it's this beautiful thing that what we see is that when Neo leaves the Matrix, and there's a bit of like a Christ analogy there that is referenced to, or an Alice in Wonderland analogy that's referenced to, where he goes on this hero's journey. He leaves.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah, he leaves the typical boring life. Overcomes a challenge. He has, a mentor that guides him in Morpheus, and that's a really beautiful relationship in this movie because Morpheus unconditionally loves, supports and believes in Neo, doesn't he?
100%.
Yeah. So there's this beautiful thing, and often this is what we need to do for the kids that we're guiding through big feelings and trying to find who they are and their purpose and meaning and enlightenment is be Morpheus. That's not what we're going to talk about, but it's this beautiful character relationship and pair bonding that we see. There's also Trinity and the love and all that stuff, and the love that saves him at the end of this movie. But there's something really beautiful about we see Neo in the Matrix when all of the external superficial noise is removed. He finds purpose, connection and love. And that's actually the beautiful thing about the Matrix. It's also this phenomenal visual movie, the martial arts aspect of it are out of this world. It's this really cool, it brought kind of a lot of Asian martial arts and anime and things like that into it. And we saw the way that they cut it and framed it was beautiful. But that's what we see in this movie. Now, how does he achieve it?
Takes a leap of faith.
Yeah, but he fails at first, doesn't he? Why does the
Yes.
movie do that? Why does he fail? Why didn't they make him make the jump? We'd just seen him spar with Morpheus and be amazing.
Everyone fails to jump the first time.
Yeah, but it makes him human. If he
Yeah.
doesn't fail that jump, it's harder to believe at the end of this movie that he reaches enlightenment.
Yep.
Now, how does he do it? Think about practically in the movie. How does the team or how does the real world and the people that support him get him better?
They
How do-
train him up.
Yeah, train him.
Yeah. Oh, they give him like a very like a sparring program and like light stuff. So not real world. Don't push him out into the real world. They give him like a fake world to like a sandbox.
Yeah. So we
call it
don't like
sandbox.
it, they do train him, but we don't want to train kids.
Give him opportunities to get better.
Yeah, so they give him skill development or the highest level of learning we talked about back on, God, what movie was it? Where we talked about like classical conditioning, operant conditioning, social learning theory and cognitive development. And what they do in The Matrix is they give him cognitive development. So they go to the highest level of learning. Now they upload it to him. But what we're going to do with kids is talk about how we build their skills in big emotions. Now, what is the amazing thing that he achieves? And it was like a movie effect that they used.
Oh, he can see where he sees it all.
Yeah,
at the end.
yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, totally
No,
sees it all.
tell me.
No, because sees it all. But what else does he do? What happens where it just goes?
I don't know where he's like blurred and he's like in a flow state and blah blah blah.
Yeah, so bullet time. Remember they did bullet time where it stops and they like circle around.
Yeah.
They slow it down.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to try and achieve with how we have emotional self-regulation and deal with big feelings.
Okay.
We're going to try and learn how we can give that skill to kids and ourselves.
Yep.
I'm not an adult specialist, but I deal with a lot of parents, so it's really important because we know we're going to stay out of the co-regulation space, but we know the first step of co-regulation is us self-regulating first.
Yep.
So it's a really important thing we're going to do.
So you're talking about like we're going to spin around and put it on us or something like that.
We're going to slow down time
Okay.
because, what does... I can lead you to the door, Nick, but you have to walk through it.
Give me the pill, Billy.
So it's really important. This is a really important skill. The Matrix is this beautiful portrayal of Neo as the child and Morpheus as the parent, taking him through this process of understanding this external world and the internal impact it has upon Neo.
So what are we teaching people today? Like how would you call this medically?
Yeah, so we're talking about emotional self-regulation.
Emotional self-regulation.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, let's talk about it. What do you think about emotional self-regulation? So tell me what comes first. What came first for me this morning?
You got to check yourself.
What came before that? What came before the emotion?
You're trying to set yourself up for a bit of success.
Yes, because what do I know is coming?
Stress.
Why?
Because it's always tough.
Yeah, because I've got to drop off.
Drop off. Oh, practically, yeah. You know drop-off's coming. You know they don't want to go.
So that's the situation.
Yeah.
And that comes before the emotion,
Yeah, before it all boils up.
doesn't it?
If you're lucky, it doesn't happen until you get there, but it can happen in the car on the way, I guess.
Yeah. So the situation, and then what happens before the emotion? And Richard Lazarus, an American psychologist, taught us this. What happens before? Does the situation happen and then the
Become
emotion?
aware. Yeah, they realise what's about to
But
happen.
what do I do first? So what do I? Yeah. So I
you
go
start
into
preparing
daycare.
them?
Yeah. So I've prepared, doing all that stuff. I get in there, and Evie starts struggling. What happens before my emotion? Does it go? So a lot of parents would say, "There's nothing that happens before it. They just go
blows
from
up.
0 to 100. There's no sign. There's no process. They just do it." That's not true. Because what happens?
You start to see them physically recoil and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm assessing the situation.
You're assessing.
Situation. I assess it. That's what Lazarus realized, which was a huge concept because everyone was like, situation, emotion. It goes straight to that. But we assess it.
Yeah.
Then we process it and see how we appraise it through that kind of assessment. And then we have how we think about it, and then we have how we act. So those are the steps that we're going to talk about. Now, situation this morning. What could I have done?
You ask me practically what I do. I usually try and connect with that teacher straight away.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I walk in, I'm like, Jimmy, look, it's Jimmy. And then Jimmy usually lights up, and then Jimmy will come over and go, oh, look, it's Ron. I'll be like, Jimmy, Ron.
So what you're doing there is you're modifying the situation.
Yeah, I'm trying to like show this is all cool.
Which is a really good strategy because you're adding humour. And you're adding lightheartedness. And you're adding connection and you're adding relatability.
And then I'll look at her and she's kind of like, yeah, all right. All right. Because I have bad drop-offs.
Because she's appraising it. She's assessing it, seeing how she thinks about it.
Yeah, all right.
And we can come in there and help them with that, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Now, what else could I have done about the situation?
You. So you're doing your assessment of Evie at this stage?
But even before that, before I get to drop off.
Well, I wouldn't word her up. You could tell her to be brave maybe or something if you want.
So I did word her up, and that's where she melted down and was
I was wondering if that's the right thing because it's always terrible when I've never had a great outcome. They never go, oh, I'm brave. Yeah, cool, I'm brave today. Yeah, no worries, Dad, I'll make this easy on you. It doesn't go like that.
So I could have just avoided it, couldn't I?
Yeah.
I could have texted you and gone, mate, we're going to have to find another time. Evie's too upset.
Oh, you could have avoided it altogether. Yeah, right, if it was so horrible.
So that's where a lot of clinical anxiety comes from. Because before they even get to the situation, their strategy is to avoid it. So I'm not going to go to school. I'm not going to separate from Mum. I'm not going to drop Evie off.
We're not going to get the injection.
And once it gets to the point where it's like, we're not going to get the injection. Yeah.
It gets to that point sometimes.
Yeah.
I've had failed drop-offs.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Brought the kid home and said, sorry, Mum, she's with you today. Mum just looks at me. I go, okay.
Totally. Now, if you couldn't work because you've been doing it for weeks and had to say to work, I can't do it, then that becomes a dysfunctional strategy, doesn't it?
It doesn't work.
But it is appropriate sometimes. Now, in the moment with Ron, when you're like, oh, look, here's this person and isn't this exciting, what you're actually doing is a component of how you assess the situation. And that is the step before you kind of feel how you think about it is what you give attention to. And that's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to find the good things to give attention to.
Good things that are in there, yeah.
Now, what else can we do that's bad with attention?
Point at the bad things.
Yeah.
Point out the dangers.
Yeah. What else can we do?
Ignore them.
Yeah. Suppress them. Internalise them.
So I'm doing that, though, when I say, hey, look, it's Jimmy.
Well, you're probably acknowledging them, but you are redirecting your attention to something more helpful.
That's what we all do as parents.
Yeah. Well, do you know what I do? I don't know what you do. When I'm really stressed and I'm getting like finding myself ruminating, I'll pick up my phone and look at stuff. So last night, I reckon I touched my phone between midnight and 1 a.m. 50 times.
Oh, just drowns out.
Stressed.
Yeah, totally.
Because I'm using a coping mechanism to shift my attention to something.
Yeah.
Now,
quick hit.
Yeah, so we can shift our attention and we can help kids shift their attention in ways that are healthy and ways that are unhealthy.
That's
to the good stuff, or just avoid it, ignore it.
All right, well, what do you do?
Yeah, so
what should you have done at midnight?
So I needed to modify the situation. I needed to put my phone away from me, make it easier for me behaviourally to move away from that. I probably should have gone to bed, but I was like, no, I have to get stuff done. I've been like this every night this week, and so I'm just like sleep deprived and all of that stuff. And I'm trying to talk about, which we'll talk. I still, except for this morning's first time in probably years, I haven't exercised. Didn't the first start my day. Because I've lost that protective factor, but those protective factors are really important in terms of our action, and we'll talk about that because that's the last step. But how can I modify the environment? How can I be aware that I'm directing my attention to something that's unhealthy by doing that, and then make it easier for me in an awareness of that? Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about a bit.
Matrix right now.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we can do in that moment is be aware, called interoception. Be aware of what our body's doing and what I'm experiencing. And just me getting tense. I'm noticing that I'm drawing away from what I'm trying to read and what I'm trying to write, and I'm going to my phone. And what's the key whenever we are struggling or our kid is struggling? We've noticed it. Yeah, we've noticed it. We're aware of it. We're trying to connect with it. What do we need to do with big feelings, whether it's our own or our kids?
So we acknowledge it. And then we try and bring ourselves back down?
Yeah, but even before we have any strategy, we need to make sure we're not judging ourselves or our kids. We need to go in non-judgmentally. So I was getting annoyed at myself for doing it. Yeah. beautiful to say that it's hard, because it is hard, and we need to remember for a 3-year-old it's really hard, for a 13-year-old it's really hard. But we need to be non-judgmental about it. And this is like one approach, which mindfulness or meditative practice or whatever is about recognizing the feelings that are happening in your body and the emotions you're having, but letting yourself experiencing them without judging them.
You got to.
Without feeling guilty, without attacking yourself. But I do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm so stressed. I'm not going to get to bed. I'm like doing the classic thing of counting how many hours sleep I'm going to get and watching them diminish. Yeah, so I'm catastrophizing, which is a dysfunctional way of thinking about this. And that's the next step. Now, I'm worrying and I'm ruminating as well at the same time. Now, what's the difference between worry and rumination? Two dysfunctional ways that we process.
Rumination just goes circular.
Yeah, so
that's what I always think about it, is rumination, like you're ruminating just the same thing over and over.
Yeah, so rumination is often you're still thinking about something that's happened in the past, and that's a key feature of depression.
And worry, you're looking in the future.
Yeah, worry is a key feature of anxiety.
Anxiety's forward, depression's back.
Yeah. So now there's a healthy approach to that because it actually helps us problem solve, doesn't it? If you're like, I screwed up, I shouldn't have said that thing, how am I going to resolve it? But it becomes dysfunctional when we're having big feelings and we just cycle through rumination. And that's often when we'll go into behaviours like distraction. Yeah. So what can you do? So you can do the steps we talked about. Yeah, acknowledge that feeling, be aware of what's happening in my body, and then think about what's a healthy approach that I can do. I can get up and walk away from this. I can write down, make a list, try and bank it off that. I can send an email. I can say, tell myself I'm going to talk to my partner about this tomorrow and see if they can help me. Annalise is phenomenal like this. That's often my strategy. I will be ruminating about something I've done wrong, and I will go tell myself I'm going to talk to Annalise about this. We need to role model that for our kids so they see us doing that. So they go, hey, Dad's been really stressing about this thing that's happened at work, and he's like realised he needs to go out for a run. He's realised he needs to, say to Mum, I need to have a chat to you about this thing or whatever, and they see that help seeking. We'll talk about why help seeking is...
So it's the same approach for worry and for rumination.
It's a different approach for every single child, but yes, you're right. Once they become dysfunctional, you need to think about a different process.
Yeah. To that point,
deal with that.
I'm thinking about adult, if I'm honest. Let's worry about the kids. Check myself first, because I reckon someone my age is going to give a shit about this. Sorry. So whether it's worrying about the future or doing something bad you've done recently or however long back in the past, if you think about addressing it, it's like writing it down. I'm thinking about practical stuff. You could either write it down, you could go and action it if you can action it, or write it down to pick it up later, or say you're going to chat, I'm going to speak to my partner tomorrow about this.
Yeah.
Okay,
beautiful.
Cool.
And what else? It's been a bit unfair. Yeah, so you can reappraise the situation and think.
Was it really that bad?
Yeah, totally.
How do you do that?
So you have a process. Now there's lots of different ways to do it. You can step back. You can step back from it and say, how would I feel if this happened to someone else? If someone else came to me and said they said the wrong thing, or they forgot something, or they slipped up, or they overreacted in front of people, what advice would I give them? We can do this with our kids.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think if, like, Sally
did that to you?
Yeah. How would you feel?
Would you care that much, mate? Would it be that bad?
Yeah. What would Sally need to do to make it better? So you're stepping them out of it. So we need to do that too. We step back and say, how can I be a bit more objective about this? How can I process it in a way that's a bit more helpful? Who can I draw in to help me with this? Now, we can do this in a really dysfunctional way, can't we? We can get caught up in it, we can ruminate, or we can just completely suppress it and go, I'm not going to think about that. Or we can go into dysfunctional coping strategies, such as alcohol, drug use, poor sleep, stop exercising.
Social.
Those are all, stop doing all the things that are helpful. That's why they're all the signs of clinical anxiety and depression.
Yeah, okay.
Because they're dysfunctional coping strategies for big feelings that we're having. That are impacting our daily lives.
Yep. Okay.
Now, the last bit is kind of what we do with our behaviours. And that's really important that we think purposely about, what are we doing as a response to that? Now, what do you do when you get stressed or sad or anxious or angry or any big feeling? Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Get angry.
So, anger is really interesting because anger is one of the only negative, there's no negative emotions, but the only so-called negative where it actually forces us towards something. often anxiety and fear is underneath something.
I get that one. I get that anxiety.
Yeah. So for a lot of people, they'll withdraw, but often with anger, we go towards something. Often like hopelessness, sadness, fear, guilt, shame. They shut us down. Whereas anger is often like an acopic mechanism, because what we want is we want kids.
What's acopic, mate?
So it's not a good coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So it often makes things worse.
Okay.
Now, what do you want if Winnie or either of the girls is angry?
I want them to
because something bad has happened to them. So I just talked to Evie about this.
I
When
want
the
them to
little
calm
boy
down.
does something to you, what do I want?
Oh, that's the outcome I want is I want them to calm down.
Yeah.
But I want them to get help if something's...
Yeah, and what do you want them to be as adults when someone is rude to them and they get angry?
Be able to sort of step back and assess the situation a little bit and
Yeah.
understand what it is.
And what about if they have to address the situation?
To be able to communicate really clearly.
Yeah,
to
you want them to be assertive.
Yeah.
Now, boys are much better at being assertive than girls, but they often do it from anger and aggression. That's because the big feeling is still controlling their behaviour through anger. And I'm like this. Melfi's like been attacked 4 or 5 times, my dog. It's made her so anxious that she's just so reactive, and it's getting actually really hard to exercise her because I run her with a lead tied to me, and people who are not meant to have their dogs off lead, the dog comes and attacks them. And I've then got to deal with the dog attacking my dog who's like cowering and whimpering, and it makes me really angry and I go towards it. Happened a month ago and I had stern words with the guy. But if I'm being 100% honest, I wasn't just being assertive. I was still really emotionally flooded and having big feelings. And the guy just tried to avoid. So he just was on his phone. His dog attacked mine. Didn't even do anything. I just sought out this dog and he just walked off and called his dog. And I was like, mate, there's kids that play here. This dog should be on a lead. It's just attacked my dog. It happened 2 days ago. Little old lady walking a massive dog on a lead. I run past. She loses control of it. I've got this huge dog attacking Melfi. Once again, pinning her, hurting her, all this stuff. The woman comes over. I had no problem not being aggressive because the situation's different. It's a little old lady.
She tried to address it as well.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the 5th time she's been attacked now. It's getting really hard for her to leave the house because she keeps getting attacked. If I'm being honest, I feel a lot of shame about that dog because I feel like I've failed her. She's been attacked so much. So I have this big feeling every time this happens and it completely drops my function. Now, what I could do, which I'm obviously not going to do, so I could go right back to the start of what we talked about and I could stop running her. What I've got to try and do is change it. Yeah, that's dysfunctional. So what I've got to do is change the situation. I've got to reappraise it. I've got to have processes. I've got to give attention to certain things and I've got to have strategies that support her. And that's kind of what Neo learns, going back to the Matrix. He learns all the things that he can do to overcome the big feelings that are happening to him, which is people attacking him, the agents. And that's what it happens in our life, is that we walk through life, and our kids especially do, ill-equipped to deal with these kind of challenges that come to their mental well-being. And those are often big feelings that they don't have the strategies. They haven't gone through the simulation yet, but we can guide them through it and give them the skills. And that's stepping through some of it. A more simple version of it is if we think about there are 5 steps that kids will go through, starting from the least helpful to the most helpful. The first is real externalizing aggression, anger, just like what I've done. Bang. 100% bang. Out the gate. I've had a big feeling I don't feel comfortable about. Something has happened and I'm aggressive, I'm angry, and I flood it. The second one is withdrawal and internalizing. I just shut down. I avoid that emotion. I avoid that feeling. I don't acknowledge it. Also destructive. The third one is avoidance. I don't take Evie to daycare. I don't take Melfi out for a run. I don't assert myself. I don't stick up for myself. I don't address the conflicts and the causes that I'm struggling with.
Yep.
The second highest tier is where we're often trying to get kids that are stuck in any of those 3, which is help seeking.
Yep.
The final tier that a lot of us adults can't do is problem solving. We want to help our kids learn to problem solve, but very gently, with a lot of support and very low expectations. Now, help seeking, it is really important how we respond to them when they help seek, if we expect them to help seek from other people like childcare educators. Because that's the hardest place she's going to help seek is today. if that kid comes and hits her. So I've got to teach her. Now, the other day when she melted down, that's how she learns if help seeking works. Now, if one of your girls is angry, what should your response be? And you think it's stupid, you're frustrated.
What should my response be?
Yeah.
If she's really angry, just help her label the emotion.
Beautiful. I wasn't even going there, but I forgot to mention that. That's a really important strategy. It's a cognitive approach that goes before the behaviour, but after the appraisal that says, and how do you say it?
They go, I hate Billy.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, this is what's in my notes.
Completely fictional.
I hate Billy. It's like, oh, I can see you're really angry at Billy. You don't hate Billy.
Yeah, you delivered that beautifully.
You're angry. Honestly, this is part of my summary notes from the book. So
Yeah.
I've done that. You didn't tell me the
So
topic.
why did you do it? Why did you do it like that?
Because you try and teach them what the feeling is that they're experiencing,
Yep.
so that they know what this feels like. This is anger.
Yeah.
It's not the hate of a human, another kid who they like, who for that moment, because they're 4 years old, hate in that moment, but they're just really angry at them.
Yeah. And what's an important feeling that they feel about how you're responding to them?
Oh, well, I'm trying to connect with them so that I understand them. So they
And how do you want them to feel about anger? What do you want her to grow up and feel about anger?
It's passing.
Yeah.
Hope. I don't know. It might not be.
It's okay.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel. However you're feeling is okay.
Every single
feeling.
Jealousy.
Yeah, jealousy. Yep. Absolutely. All of those things are fine. Yeah, totally.
So there's evidence that shows that in terms of emotional self-regulation through the life course, including us as adults, is how positively primary caregivers respond to anger.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So if we dismiss it,
Which I
minimise it, get angry back at them.
Which I do. Tick, tick. Yep.
Yeah. So what we've got to say is, I'm happy you're coming to me. I'm happy that I'm here to be able to help you with anger. Anger is healthy. Anger is normal. Anger is okay. Because you can't get anywhere near the other stuff we talked about in terms of what you do about it if they don't feel safe, supported, and that all their feelings are valid and okay.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just cast back to something I'm dealing with at home at the moment.
Yeah, but it's got to be, doesn't it? Because otherwise she'll do all the dysfunctional stuff that you and I have just talked about.
Yeah.
She'll avoid, she'll minimise, she'll distract herself, she'll do all those things. It is now that our kids will learn that anger's okay, including teenagers. It's not lost. Because our brains, just like Neo's, are clay. Experience moulds the clay. As we get older, it gets harder to mould. That's why it gets really hard to learn a language. It gets really hard to learn new skills as we get older. But we are the people that help that experience and mould them. We don't. This is why I completely disagree with the argument that kids just need to be running around, figuring life out, and we model coddle them too much.
Good for a bunch of them. Good for the dandelions, maybe, but not perfect.
No, yes, but definitely the sensitive kids, because you're so right. There's two aspects of this which you haven't talked about. I've been banging on too much. I'll cover it in the follow-up if it's relevant. There is the normal progression of emotional self-regulation that kids go through, which starts when they're babies. Do you know what babies do?
Cry.
They gaze avert. So when a baby looks away from you, that is the first stage of emotional self-regulation, because they are saying whatever I'm looking at is distressing me, I'm going to look away from it. Mm-hmm. And that is our first opportunity to connect and understand whatever I'm doing now is distressing them. I need to go towards it. Just like when one of your kids comes and says, I'm angry, the baby that gaze averts is showing you the same thing, and you need to make sure that's okay. I'm not angry that you're not looking at me and playing with me and engaging with me. Your feeling is okay. The big kick now, Charlie's going through a huge kick in this because he's mobilising.
Yep. Hey, I'm 43 years old. Recognising that stuff gets gets harder when you're older. I'm actually confident that I could turn this around in myself.
Yeah, I'm confident you could too.
So we can turn this around with kids. 13-year-old kid 16-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You can
I do
teach
it.
them.
I do it in clinic.
This is
I
what
don't
you
do
do,
it.
isn't it?
I'm
You
a
get 'em
tiny
like-
part of it.
yeah,
The
yeah.
therapists, the social workers, the teachers, the parents.
Yeah,
They
child
will actually
protection,
do it.
they're the ones that are going to do it, right?
Yeah. But I'll
But you
ride
give
the
them a
wave of
model.
success with them.
Well, yeah. It's like me in this podcast. Yeah. Hey, I get called Dr. Nick now in the comments. Sure. Quickest PhD.
Mate, if there was like an idea of doctors, you could just throw your photo on it, or you could use mine.
Yours.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey guys. So,
I'm trying to think what privilege I get from that. I don't get into like any lounge or anything at the airport.
Oh, what's an airport? I haven't travelled anywhere in 6 years, mate. I go by car. Billy, so you can pare this back.
Yeah.
You can
Through all those
always
steps.
because I feel like I'm really focused on the kids here. I really am, but I'm like I need to work on myself first because I get those big waves and floods of emotions walking into that situation. I'm dealing with the same thing right now, but with a school kid and like aftercare. Then I want to go to aftercare.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with it
Totally.
and it starts the night before.
See, that is going to trigger me massively because I was always the last kid to get picked up at aftercare. I hated it.
Yeah.
Then I worked in it for 6 years.
Yeah. So drawn to it. So there's something there. I feel like we can unpack it. But I look at this and go, like, so I'm going through the same thing right now and it starts the night before, so it's worry, right? So I'm like, oh. And
So what do you do?
I've started off shit today, let me tell you.
So have I, mate.
No, if you go tonight, I'll give you this.
Well, that's really
Well, we're
fine.
trying
But
a lot
that's
of stuff
really,
'cause I'm
that's
going
really
time to
early
go.
behaviour change stuff that we went back to
Yeah,
before.
it was terrible. But we did have. Yeah,
I'm
we had some
sure,
stuff
mate,
happen
before
earlier in
that
the
you
week. There's a bunch
validated
of
her
stuff.
experience.
Totally, because I just read all them. I did all of that. But she kind of comes to me. I talk her through it. It's all right. But then she goes to mum, tries it on with mum, and I can see it going a bit. And I'm like, it's stuff I'm probably going to do with them any night. I don't know.
But you did this with the vaccinations. You changed the story, and that is a emotional self-regulation strategy in how we appraise and how we think about the situations we're struggling with our kids. You changed the story.
Yeah. Sorry, people probably don't give a shit about this right now listening, honestly. I just got to stop speaking.
No,
They
hey,
probably don't
this is
because
always
they're
the
probably
best
like,
bits.
this is the one that's really tough. So like aftercare's really tough because the problem is you can't take them in there and like step them through it. Because once you're there with them,
No,
like, let's
but
go
that's
home,
why you
and
teach
go,
them outside of that.
I know, but it's just hard. It's
We
just
can't
hard
expect
one.
educators to do this on their own. I know you don't.
No, I don't.
But you teach them this in the safest relationship, in the safest environment first. Home, when it's just you and you've got capacity.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
So you go through this. So very quickly, because it's important, and then I'll get to the scene. Charlie's going through this now because he's got a lot of mobility. So he can go away from things that are distressing him. He's got a really early strategy for big emotions and emotional self-regulation. And he comes towards me and he wants help, or Annalise, or you, or people he feels safe with.
Yeah.
And says, pick me up. And it's important we do that because it's really important early stage of help seeking. He also knows how to push my buttons. He literally, God knows how, he's figured out on the washing machine whenever it's running that if he presses it an odd number of times, it'll stop. He never presses it an even number of times. It's not because he's a genius. It's because he's figured out if he stops it and it doesn't keep spinning, there'll be an emotional response from me. So he's doing that. So he's doing that the whole time. Like he has got me on my toes, like because of that mobility. So I've got a situation that I'm struggling with where I've got a 1-year-old who's climbing up on everything they can to throw themselves off it, who's doing all these things and interacting in the environment. So it's important that I have an appraisal process of saying that's completely normal development, that is going to be stressful for me. What are the strategies that I can put in place? I can modify the situation by making it harder for him to get up those things, harder for him to get to the washing machine. I can make sure I label the emotions that I'm having. I think about the change that it's having in my body and I process it in a way that's helpful. And my behaviour is one that allows me to healthily deal with that.
Totally.
Through in the moment, through outside of it, exercise, all of that stuff. So it's really helpful. Does that all make sense?
Totally. One more quick tip on that one. You can usually lock them. There's usually a child lock.
Yeah, Yeah, it's 100%. Like
Not problem solving.
No. It is problem solving. But yes, I should figure that out.
Just to help you.
That's on my to-do list. But you're right, because that's actually a strategy.
It's a strategy.
I find that carve out the time. I'm just so bad with that stuff. I'll be Googling it, watching a YouTube video. I've had it. Do the lock thing. So yeah, anyone out there who is one of the final listeners thinking Billy's smart, I cannot figure out how to do the child lock on a washing machine. Anyway,
let's do it.
Let's do the scene.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Don't know what it is. Go.
So he's learning. Think about Neo as the kid, Morpheus as the parent, and the agents and the world and the Matrix as all the big emotions. Okay?
Do it.
The Matrix is a system, Neo. That system is our enemy. But when you're inside, you look around, what do you see? Businessmen, teachers, lawyers, carpenters, the very minds of the people we are trying to save. But until we do, these people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy. You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged. And many of them are so inert, so hopelessly dependent on the system that they will fight to protect it. Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
I was...
Look again. Freeze it.
This isn't the Matrix?
No. It's another training program designed to teach you one thing. If you are not one of us, you are one of them.
What are they?
Sentient programs. They can move in and out of any software still hardwired to their system. That means that anyone we haven't unplugged is potentially an agent. Inside the Matrix, they are everyone, and they are no one. We have survived by hiding from them, by running from them. But they are the gatekeepers. They are guarding all the doors, they are holding all the keys, which means that sooner or later, someone is going to have to fight them.
Someone.
I won't lie to you, Neo. Every single man or woman who has stood their ground, everyone who has fought an agent has died. But where they have failed, you will succeed.
Why?
I've seen an agent punch through a concrete wall. Men have emptied entire clips at them and hit nothing but air. Yet their strength and their speed are still based in a world that is built on rules. Because of that, they will never be as strong or as fast as you can be.
What are you trying to tell me? That I can dodge bullets?
No, Neo. I'm trying to tell you that when you're ready, you won't have to.
Such a good saying.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But what it's really showing is that what he's saying is like the world is full of people that struggle with emotions. And then there's those big emotions coming at us. Now, we can't expect other people who are not unplugged or working on this to be able to deal with them, process them and all those things. And they challenge us, those interactions with people, like the other kid that is, you know, hitting Evie or whatever, or the person with the dog or whatever's triggering you or Winnie or Ronnie to be stressed.
Yep.
There's a beautiful component in it. What he's saying is, like, you won't need to, because he's saying it won't matter what emotions come. And that's what we want to get to, is that when we get attacked from the external world and the situations and environments, we can just handle it. And that's what all of us are trying to achieve. And that's what Plato was talking about. How do you go out into the world, realize all the superficial stuff that are distractions, because a lot of us that struggle with big feelings will link into, you know, antisocial behavior, addiction. All of those things are often coping mechanisms. And what he's trying to say is if you learn how to handle this and process it, anything will come at you and you'll be fine. And that's what we want to get our kids to, that they feel anger and they can handle it in a healthy way. They feel jealousy, they feel frustration, they feel sadness, they feel worthless, they feel helpless. Those are processes that are valid and experiences they have, and we give them the skills at a developmentally appropriate level, which often the healthy one we want to get to is help seeking, and then we help them problem solve. But that's what the Matrix is really about, and what there's heaps of stuff I wanted to talk about that we haven't yet. Impulse control is a big part of this. We're going to talk about that. It's a really good balancing act. I'll try and fit that in some of the questions that come. Adolescence is a really big window of this, where big feelings, they really struggle for lots of different reasons. We'll talk about how we can help adolescents through that if people send in questions. But what I'm hoping is that people have understood the analogy of this skill development process and some of the basic foundational steps in how we build it in our kids and ourselves and how we support them. You've been really amazing. I also hope that people are comfortable to send in experiences they've had with big emotions as a kid, as being a parent, all of that stuff, some things that haven't worked, some things that have worked. All of the amazing professionals out there, it'd be amazing. That's often some really helpful practical advice. What do you find supports these kids, especially those with sensitive temperaments with big feelings? And yeah, if we please send them into the Pop Culture Parenting at Gmail, because it's a bit easier. The Instagram is just it's amazing, but it's getting absolutely hammered. The Instagram is just a tool to bring more people to the podcast. We also, this is the time, and it's a short window. It's, you know, where the next episode will be out in 2 weeks, so we'll record it in less than that. So there's like 10 days to send them in. And this is the only opportunity at the moment that I have capacity to answer stuff. So people are often sending in questions about like different off-topic stuff. Can you just help with this?
Yeah, it's not possible.
Yeah, so that's why I think you and I need to talk about it, but we might do like an open one where we're just like send in anything, and we'll try and we'll do something like that. But yeah, it's just this. The second bit is the amazing bit. Hopefully that was really helpful. Hopefully you enjoyed it and found it useful.
Yeah, no, I loved it. Can I be really honest? I'm a little bit more focused on myself with all this one. I am. I reckon, and I'll probably say it when we do the summary of it, but this is so practical for adults. Because then once you understand it, you can teach it, that sort of thing. Like critical. Like we want our kids to do it totally, but like, I've got a lot of work to do in this space personally, and I've got, a couple of things I can work on at home. Both my kids need to work on too. Do you know what I mean? But I think this is one of those genuine ones we can all do together at the same time. So you'll work on yourself and then apply it with your kids and hopefully see some success and green shoots and all that jazz. It's awesome.
Really same, mate. It's a beautiful opportunity for us to work on something ourselves and support our kids at a much lower level of expectation and a much higher level of support.
Yeah, and you saw me halfway through trying to look at what the timestamp was on one of the combos. I'm going to have to listen to it 8 times on half speed to get my head around it because it was really good. Cool. Really, really cool. All right, guys, epic. Billy's done the whole wrap-up already, but we want all those questions. No, mate, don't apologise. We want to get all those questions through, but the best way these days is via the Gmail. The reason being is just the stuff isn't coming through the inbox like it used to. There's just there's a lot more spam and stuff. Sorry, through the Insta inbox. There's just a lot of spam and stuff's just not making it through, and it's just frustrating. Frustrating for you, frustrating for us. So Gmail's the best way to get through to us with your questions, but also input into the stories as they come through as well. So we'll see how that goes. But enjoy. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll speak to you in a couple of weeks.
Hey, don't let your mother smell that beer on your breath. She'll take it out on me.
I don't want to see you again for the rest of my whole life. I don't want to see anybody else either.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Just use your best judgment. We trust you.